Hello, on this video I'm going to show you how to get started with Unity and Arcanepad. We are going to download a repo that already has everything set up so you can start modifying it very quickly. So I'm going to go to arcanepad.com then to start developing, and here we are on the documentation. Let's go to the guide and Unity, getting started with Unity. So we have a lot of steps to get started from zero. We have a few video tutorials and everything, but you don't need to do that, only if you want to understand everything more in depth. But in this video I'm going to cover everything anyways. So we go here to the starter template repo. We click it and we are going to download it. Okay, now I'm going to extract it. Let's see, let's extract it here. Extract all. Yes, on this same folder. Okay, now we have the Unity starter template Arcanepad main. So if you want, you can change the name of the folder. And now to open it, we are going to open the Unity Hub. And we copy the path of this folder and click on Add, paste here, and just open. Now it's going to open our Unity starter template. So while it is opening, here we have the scripts. It is all commented, so there is a lot of comments, so you can understand what everything is doing. Like here we are initializing the client, then we wait until the client is initialized, then we create a player for each gamepad, then we listen on gamepad connect, iframe pad connect, we create the player, and on iframe pad disconnect, when the gamepad gets disconnected, we are going to, in this case, destroy the player. And here we have the functions: create player if don't exist, create player, destroy player. So this is all explained on the other videos I did in a lot of detail. But in this video, as I'm saying, and I just want, if you just want to get started with a simple project and just get it working, you can just follow this tutorial and don't need to understand everything. So let's see if this is opening. It's pretty slow, Unity. Okay, great. So as for example, on the package manager, we already have the packages, the newtons of JSON, and the native WebSocket, so we don't need to import them, they are already here. It is everything here, the Arcane library, it is here, so we have everything. I'm going to open Arcanepad, that is going to act as our server, and now with this open, we can just press play. We should be on the view scene. Actually, I'm on no scene, so I need to load go to scenes, view scene, and now press play. And on the console, we are going to see initializing Unity client as external, WebSocket connection open, client initialize, and device type view. Perfect. So we have these two scenes, the view scene and the pad scene. The pad scene, we have an attack event, we have some other buttons to calibrate stuff. I'm going to explain all that, but first we are going to go to build settings. We are going to use the pad scene on WebGL, and it's going to be a development build. So first switch platform, And now we are going to export to build this path scene in order to load it on our phones. So build, let's go to okay, this folder is not created, so we need to create it. New folder, exports, and this is important, new folder, path. Inside the exports and path folder, select, and we are going to build our path scene in here. The view, we don't care because the view is the game, is the view. It's like a different application. These two are two different applications, not only two different scenes. So the first time is going to take like 1 or 2 minutes to make the builds, but after that it's pretty fast. It's usually 10 seconds. So I'm going, in the meanwhile, I'm going to open the Arcanepad application in my phones. And let's see the scripts a little bit more. So this is the view manager. As I was explaining, the view creates the player, and when the path connects or disconnects, then we have the path manager that also initialize as a client, and then it's initialize the buttons, the clicks on the buttons to make things like attack or like calibrate stuff. And then we have the player. The player, it has the pad object, the Arcanepad object, that is going to be used to interact basically with the device, like to attack, to listen an attack event, to get the rotation of the device, to get the pointer where the device is pointing, and a lot of other stuff. And then we have the models folder where we are creating our custom models that inherit from Arcane Base 7. So yeah, I think I'm getting ahead of myself here, so I'm sure this is confusing if it's the first time you hear all, but it's pretty simple. So I'll explain when this is done. So in the meanwhile, I'm going to open, okay, this is done. So here we copy the path of the path build, and we go to settings, developer menu, and paste here on the path. We paste the path /exports/path. Perfect. And now we play. And as you can see, it is here on our phones, it is loading the gamepads. Okay, that's great. So now it loaded the paths, and it is debugging some information about the pointer. I'm going to explain that, but first let's go to the view scene. And on the view scene, now we press play, and it's creating the two players. You can see they are rotating. I'm going to show the camera a little bit with the screen because this is interesting. So you see this is descalibrated, right? Like it is not rotating. Actually, I'm going to close one because this is annoying. Yeah, just like this. You see this is, well, it is following it. I'm going to descalibrate it more right now. Right now it's super descalibrated, right? It's not following it. So we need to put our phone parallel to the screen, and we press on the calibrate quaternion button, and as you can see, now it's following perfectly. Our phone is calibrated. So with this, we already have our rotation working. We could make things like use it like driving a steering wheel, or like to do any sort of rotations, and it's going to follow perfectly. So now the second thing, you can see this red dot. This is the pointer, but it's not following very well, right? So we have here two buttons as well, calibrate pointer top left and calibrate pointer bottom right. So we point to the top left of whatever our screen it is. So for me, my screen, the top left is there, right? Calibrate pointer top left, and now bottom right, and calibrate bottom right. And now, as you can see, it is following the phone. Now we can, let's say I want to, instead of the whole screen, I want this little rectangle here where the scene is being shown. Then I'm going to calibrate it to there. And now it is even more responsive because our screen is very little. This the scene viewer. So yeah, basically these two buttons are to say the size of the screen, to map it. So here, as you can see, the pointer has also data X and Y. This data goes from 0 to 100% of the screen, and also can go over 100 or under 0. That will be like it's outside of the screen. If it is over 100% or under 0% of the screen, it means that it went outside of the screen. And we have also this attack button. If we press it, it vibrates. My phone vibrates, but also it is here saying on the console, "Hi has attacked." Hi is the name of this phone. So we are sending an event to the view. So let's see a little bit how the code is working. I'm going to pause this and this. So let's open the view manager. So this is the view scene. Here we have the main camera, directional light, the canvas with the view scene text, the pointer. The pointer is this red dot that we are moving, and the view manager. So, and also the Arcane library. The Arcane library is a prefab that comes on the library itself, and we drag it on our managers, on our scenes, and won't get destroyed on loads on change scene. So on our view manager, we have our view manager script, and here we are initializing the client first, arcane.init. This is making the call to the networking to start working, basically to start the WebSockets client. Then we wait until client is initialized. This basically means we don't want to do anything until we receive an OK, the server is connected. Then we are going to create a player for each gamepad that was connected before initialization. So let's say the gamepads are connected, but the view is not connected. Then we have the initial state.paths. For each pad, we create a player. But some paths are going to get connected after the view was initialized. So for those, we are going to say we are going to listen to the iframe path connect event, and we are going to create a player if don't exist. Also, on iframe path disconnect, we are going to destroy the player. So here is the logic to create if don't exist, or create player, destroy player. You can do this however you prefer. This is an example, but you should be using these three events in some way. Well, these two events and the initial state, it makes a lot of sense to use them. But how you use them, you can decide. This is a standard way I made up. So yeah, this is on our view scene, the view manager. So now if we go to our path scene, to the path manager, the path scene is basically the same as the view scene instead, but we have a few more buttons to calibrate the stuff, to attack, and we have a path manager instead of a view manager that is doing the same, is initializing the library with arcane.init. We send some params on initialization, like we want the device type to be a pad. Of course, we have to tell it this is a gamepad. And the pad orientation, we set it to portrait. This is because I wanted, for this example, to use the fonts as portrait mode. But if you don't specify, it's going to be landscape. So you have these two modes, portrait or landscape. You can, if you don't put anything, it will be landscape. It will be like this. So then we await the Arcane client initialize. Then we subscribe the attack button to on click. We do the on attack button press, which basically emits to the view an Arcane based event attack. This Arcane based event is the way we create events, but ideally we inherit from them, like the take damage event. So we just say take damage event inherits from Arcane based event, and we can type it with damage or with anything, and on the base we set the name. So this is the proper way of doing it. You can do it like this as well, emits new Arcane based event attack, but it will be better new attack event and the damage. So then we have the listen for an event sent to this pad. So on take arcane.message.on take damage, we call the take damage function that is here, and we say to our gamepad to vibrate for 100 milliseconds times damage. Calibrate rotation. Here we are doing the quaternion, the rotation. You remember I calibrated it, so this works with this basically. On when the calibrate button is clicked, we call arcanepad arcane.pad.calibrate quaternion, and that gets the job done. And to calibrate the pointer, it was two buttons. You remember, one for top left and one for bottom right. So here we are getting the pointer on our gamepad, and we are just logging to the text the X and the Y. As you remember, on our gamepad we were able to see the data. And here we calibrated on top left button click, we arcane.pad.calibrate pointer, true is top left, false is bottom right. And now let's go to the player. Here on the player we have we initialize it on the view manager. When we create the player, we initialize it and we pass the gamepad. So our player now has the pad. Our player, you have to remember, is on the environment of the view. As I explained before, we have two applications, one that is the view and one that is the pad. So the player is inside the view. So the pad object is going to be like a link to interact with the gamepad. So we have the username, pad.user.name, the user color, pad.user.color, and here we listen to the attack event, and we call the attack function when we get attacks. And these are multiple different ways of doing it, like untype lambda would be this, untype function, types lambda, and type function. This is the ideal way, as I was explaining, with an attack event instead of just an arcane based event. And yes, then we ask for the quaternion. The quaternion is the rotation, basically. We get with the quaternion, we say start get quaternion, and on get quaternion we call the rotate player. And on the rotate player function, we just transform the rotation of our mesh to a new quaternion, and this gets the job done. Then the pointer object, well, we find the pointer object on the UI, and we get direct transform, and we start get pointer, and on get pointer we move the pointer. So to move the pointer we need to do this. We get the normalize x, normalize y, and that is basically a value from 0 to 1 instead of from 0 to 100%. And then we get the canvas, the parent, and we need to get the width and the height, and then we multiply that to the normalized values. And now we can set the pointer anchor position to the new x and the new y, and this gets the job done. It moves the UI element. So this is hard-coded to just one player, like there is only one pointer. If you want to make like a shooting game and you want to have multiple pointers, you should you should create these pointers dynamically somehow. But that was a lot of extra work that for this example I think it wasn't necessary. Maybe in the future I'm going to make one example with that, but for the time being this is fine. So I think I already covered almost everything. I know it may sound a little bit too much, but if you just take a look, it's just 60 lines of code plus 60 plus another 60. It's like 180 lines of code, and it's a working basic example, so it's not that like a lot, and most of the lines is just commented code, so it could be like less than 80 lines probably. So I think it's pretty straightforward how you get this done. You go to here to the Arcanepad app settings, developer menu, and you put the pad URL. If you want to also run the game here, it will be appear here on a window, but I think it's better to use the view on Unity already. Here on the view scene, I think it's better to do like this. But every time you make changes to the gamepad, you will need to export it and just reload, like press stop and play. And sometimes if you do it very fast, it can happen this, that the gamepad gets disconnected. So so yes, that's it. And let's see. As I was saying, there is a lot of more video tutorials that I'm going to be adding to explain how to set up everything from zero, to add the packages. It's pretty simple, but at the same time it takes time, like to make these videos and everything. So maybe you just want to get started by yourself. But if you have any questions or on how to get started, or you're having any problems, please join our Discord channel, and I'll happily help you to get started. So I think I'm forgetting something, to mention something, like, well, here we have the prefabs, the player, the scripts, the scenes. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. On the Arcane library you have an example as well, but it's not as good as the starter template, so better use the starter template as example. And oh yeah, I know what I was forgetting. So if you want to test something pretty fast on the gamepad, you can just go to the pad scene and just play the pad scene. So this is going to work as well. WebSocket connection open, device type pad, perfect. The only problem you're going to have is that this is not touch. Also, there is no accelerometer, there is no gyroscope, so it won't have all this stuff. You cannot make it vibrate. So to send an attack event, it's okay, but even the attack event, like, we don't have the viewer to receive the event. So to test simple stuff, this is fine. but ideally you are going to want to go here to File, Build Settings, and do the export, and always do it with development build check, because this is going to make it build a lot faster. Like it's a lot of like it's going to save you a minute every time. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful and you like the idea of Arcanepad and get started with doing some great stuff. So thank you for watching and see you on the next video. Goodbye.